I have a batch of side pieces from 1/10 12K gold filled eyeglasses. Never worked with these before. There I could get up to 5% of gold by weight, but I expect a whole lot less than that. They have a spring filled earpiece that has probably half of that, and a lot of these are very, very worn. That said, we'll go through the process and see what I get. I'll start by cutting in smaller pieces. Because it's gold filled, this will give our acids more access to the base metals. Have them all cut up. Go ahead and get a weight on these so that we can calculate our yield. So it looks like we're about 249 grams. All right, for processing, there's a lot of ways we can attack these. We could try nitric boils. We could do what's called the acid peroxide process. We could do a straight hydrochloric boil. In all those processes, our first step is going to be to incinerate these to red hot, burning off any of the volatile oils and other stuff that might be on here so that we don't carry them through into the recovery process. So we've incinerated these. We'll go ahead and put them in the beaker. I'm going to go forward with doing a hot hydrochloric boil. I know the spring earpieces are made of stainless steel. They don't really react with nitric acid. I know the acid peroxide process can take weeks, maybe even months for this kind of material. By using warm, hot hydrochloric acid, we'll hopefully speed that along and be able to get to our recovery step relatively quickly. So we're just going to start by putting these on the heat, filling it with some hydrochloric acid. Then we'll turn on the hot plate and let the acid do its thing. Five days in, I've had this on warm, hot hydrochloric boil about 8 hours each of those days. Over that, building a reasonably large amount of waste solution. And what I'm noticing is that although the base metals are being dissolved nicely out of some of the pieces not really. So I'm going to transfer this to a smaller beaker, and I'm going to go off camera and separate them into those pieces that seem to be reacting to hydrochloric and those pieces that aren't. And I think we're going to have to take a different approach for those pieces that aren't reacting. Although the amount of our material has reduced substantially. Take a quick look here. See pieces like this in here, they have really gone nowhere. So I've completed a rather tedious separation of the materials. Those pieces that weren't responding to the hydrochloric acid I've put in this beaker, I'm going to do a nitric boil on them, see what we get. Hopefully that gets rid of those base metals for them. So both of our beakers have been sitting for about 4 more hours. In this beaker over here, we have those pieces that were responding to the hydrochloric acid. Go ahead and take a look at what we have here. You can see we got a lot of floaters in there. Mostly just looks like gold foils. I think this one is ready for the next step. So we'll just leave it sit here for a bit. In the meantime, we'll look at our pieces that weren't responding to the hydrochloric. And tell from this blue color we've pulled out probably some copper, maybe even some silver, which is a little bit surprising to me. We'll decant off the solution. The other thing we can see in here now is I can see some of that purple sludge at the bottom, which is generally gold. Pieces that have come off not in foils but more as a powder. We're certainly going to recover that as we go forward, but that's a good sign that we've made some progress. Taking a look at what we have in here, see it's nice, everything's very soft. We're certainly on the right track. In fact, I think we might be there. Looking like what I would expect for gold foils. That said, we've come this far. We're going to go ahead and do one more nitric boil on this just to get as much base metal out as we can. So we're going to put a little distilled water, a little bit of nitric acid, put it back up on the heat, give it a couple of hours and see if we get any reaction. It's been a few hours. No real reaction, not fumes to speak of. Don't get real discoloration of the nitric acid itself. So I think we have gotten all the base metals we're going to get out of this material. So we're going to go ahead and filter and capture our foils, capture the purple mud, and then proceed to recovering the gold. So we'll start by capturing our foils from our hydrochloric boils. I'll go ahead and add in the foils from the nitric. There is a chance we made a little bit of a weak Aqua Regia by combining the hydrochloric boils with the nitric. So we'll certainly test the waste solution before we dispose of it into our waste containers, just to make sure we haven't pulled any gold. The hydrochloric is probably consumed, so it's unlikely, but we'll check. Our foils are filtered and rinsed. So you have a nice little batch of them there. I'm going to put these into a heating dish, put it up on the heat. It's on low heat. I'm just drying the filter and everything out so that when we go to the incineration steps, things go a little smoother and quicker. So now we'll move on to filtering our solutions, capturing any of that purple gold powder that may have come over in our decanting. First, we'll filter the spent nitric. Two things to look at here. First, you can see our purple gold powder in that filter. We'll be sure to recover that. Second, it appears that we formed some silver chloride. There's maybe more silver in those pieces than I thought. You can see that on the bottom. So we're going to set that aside. We'll recover that later. Next, we're going to go ahead and filter our leftover hydrochloric waste and see what we get out of that. There's a lot of it, so I'm not going to show the full filtering. Now that we're filtered, we're going to go ahead and incinerate our filters and our foils. This will oxidize any junk metals that we want to be sure not to carry forward into recovery, make for a cleaner recovery. So we're going to put some hydrochloric acid in our beaker now. We've done our incineration, going to pour our remains into there. Our next step now will be to dissolve all of our precious metals into solution so that we can recover the gold out of it. To do this, I'm starting by adding 6 milliliters of nitric acid. I'll add a little sulfuric acid to precipitate any lead, and then we'll put it on the heat. Now that our base metals are dissolved, I'm going to go ahead and filter our gold-bearing solution, get any solids out of there, get a nice clear, albeit very dark and dirty, dirty meaning there's more in there than just gold, solution to then recover our gold powder from. Quick stannous chloride test shows that we do have gold in solution. So filtering is complete. Go ahead and look what we filtered out. Lots of gross looking junk there. Set that aside. We'll go ahead and transfer our solution to a beaker and prepare for precipitation. It's a very dark solution, but it looks clear, which is good in terms of solids. Since we're not expecting a clean gold drop from this dirty solution, we'll go ahead and precipitate the gold out. So you can see there, solution, it's very dark. Going to take our stump out, SMB. We'll add it in. Give it a reasonable amount. There's a lot of junk in here, so this might take more than usual. Go ahead and do another stannous chloride test on this. See what we've got. Get a little color. You can see that brown, which means we've got plenty of stump out in there, but probably no gold left in solution. Go ahead and place our beaker up here, and we'll do one last stannous test. Now that it's settled a little bit, you can see we're fully negative. Go ahead and cover this up, put it on really low heat, and we'll let it settle. The solution is so dark it's hard to tell, but our gold has settled out. It off. You can see it down there on the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and decant the solution. So after we decant the solution, we're going to need to clean this powder. We're going to want to re-refine it. It's going to be very dirty coming out of a dirty drop like this. It's getting to be late in the day, so I think we're going to call this our video today. This is part 1, recovery. And in part 2, we'll complete these steps up to a nice shiny gold button. Thank you for watching. As always, hope to see you tune in for part 2. Feel free to like, subscribe. Comments are always welcome.